Hello everyone, welcome back to another album review, and in this video I'm going to review Iris by Paragon. This is the second full-length album by drum and bass artist Paragon and his debut in Tech H Recordings. Tech H Recordings is one of the more underground darkstep and drum and bass labels, which is made by the one and only Technical H, whose input in drum and bass music, in my opinion, is one of the most noticeable and one of the ones to be remembered the most when it comes to some heavy and dark drum and bass sounds. For years, Technical H has proven to be one of the best in the game, and especially with his new releases like the Progression Thread Part 1 album is one of the best examples of heavy and dark drum and bass sounds, which mostly present your standard and average drum and bass breaks. So there is still this old school sound, this old school feel, but no other artist has done such a great job with these beats as Technical H, in my opinion. The reason now I'm talking about another artist rather than one I'm currently reviewing his album is because Paragon has a lot in common with the sound of Technical H. It's not something surprising. Most stuff in the Tech H label have kind of the same sound. They just focus on those old school breaks and giving them a nasty approach, a really dark feel with some really moody and atmospheric melodies and synths and passages. All of those elements are there. And there are a couple of releases that I haven't heard yet. One I discovered was the new Voyage LP, which is more of the same, and I just decided to give Paragon a shot. This album is 9 songs, they have the length you would expect from an album of this genre, and it's mostly a collaborative one with other artists that are known to put works in the Tech H label. Almost the entire album is full of features with the exception of the last 2 songs, and in my opinion, of course, that's not a big deal, that's not an issue. The issue though with each one of those features is that you don't feel like they add their own unique flavor to each of their songs they're respectively put into. Even if you take them in or out, you can't tell who made which part or how they make anything new to the formula we're already used to from anything Technical H has released up until this point. The only thing that comes down is whether the ideas are good or not. So in my opinion, it doesn't really matter if what they have in mind manages to work. Structurally, the songs don't feel too long or too short, they're just really well done. The production at points, while it's good, it can be rough around the edges with some unnecessary overcompression to some of the breaks, which leads to some distorted parts. Like for example, it doesn't have that crisp and detailed sound from Progression Thread from Technical H, but it still manages to add to the dark and nasty approach. The song Red Light featuring DJ E is identical to a lot of stuff you might have heard from Technical H. The idea is great, my only issue is that the kick just feels heavier and muddier than needed. It just covers a big portion of the song. It just feels kind of disconnected and unnecessarily loud or over the mix, which like I said happens with a lot of songs on the album. It's not of bad taste, but it can be a little bit distracting at points. Up in Smoke featuring Voyage, who I mentioned earlier, they have one of the best tracks on the album in my opinion. It also has a kick that is unnecessarily louder and muddy, but the breaks on this one are excellent. Most standout part is at the fill towards the ending portion of the beat. There is a little sub bass drop which kind of distorts the rest of the beat, and it just sounds so good and it's just so well put together. The horn sections at different portions of the song sound gorgeous as well. And this one also reminds me something out of old school Black Sun Empire. Corroded featuring Code 906 is more of the same. It has a nice dark melody, it has a nice use of snare and ride at this one. It's an okay song to the album. Effigy featuring Cypheruk, this one sounds the closest to Technical H's Progression Thread series. Production sounds nasty, there are tons of different sounds and ideas on this one, and the synth sounds like they're constantly pitch shifted up or down, sounding like an alarm, and it's really unsettling and dark. It's definitely one of the better moments of the album. Now, Cold Feet featuring Indigenous is just a 3-minute interlude, and it's the most unique moment of the album so far and the most different by far. It has sounds reminiscent of didgeridoo, and adding some distorted drone sounds to it. For what it is, for a kind of dark and ambient song, it works well. The song Myceium featuring Zigril, it has the best way the standard drum and bass break is presented in this album so far. Also, there's an excellent use of this industrial percussion that comes right after the snare and makes it sound 1,000 times better. The melody is just so dark and it's so well put together. Human Terror featuring Furious has the darkest, most distorted and nastiest break on the album. It's not one of the most memorable songs, but it's an appreciative attempt, but I think it could use more sounds and extend the idea even more. And now we go to the final 2 tracks, the ones where there is no feature to them. The self-titled one, Iris, is actually not one of my favorite moments in the album. It's just another decent moment. It doesn't bring anything new to the table, it has another good break, it's a well put together song, but it's not that different with the rest of the track listing. And finally, Interference 2 is a 10-minute track, which actually has no beat or even a drop. It's just an ambient drone song. I did not expect that, to be quite honest with you. That was a pleasant surprise. That was a nice and intriguing way to end the album, but the song ended up being for me by far the most underwhelming moment of the album. Even though it has a nice industrial feel to it and some distorted parts, it doesn't end on a strong note, and throughout the 10-minute mark, it doesn't feel like it goes anywhere. There are some changes and some different passages, but not really nothing that special. So, there are not actually that many other things I can tell about this album that I haven't mentioned already. If you're looking for a dark drum and bass album, something that sounds a lot like anything from Technical Edge, especially on his later years, this is a great recommendation in my opinion. Paragon delivers more of the same, and the result is a decent drum and bass album. I enjoyed it for the most part. I think there are a lot of good moments to it, but it's mostly just another decent and okay album in the genre. And despite its shortcomings, there are definitely songs I'm gonna see myself coming back to. And that's all I have to say. I'm gonna give this album a 7- out of 10. What's your opinion on this album? Like it? Dislike it? Why? And what do you want me to review next time? Let me know down in the comments. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.